Before today's episode, I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and recognise their continued connection to the beautiful land and sea. I'd also like to pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and I extend this acknowledgement to the traditional owners of the land my listeners are on. Welcome to Ritual the Podcast, your cottage in the woods. A sacred space for the witches, the healers, the magical folk to meet and speak of wisdom, witchery, and old world magic, where people come to learn, to hear stories, to share secrets, and to be free to be their true selves. Welcome to Ritual.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Ritual. My name is Amy Harvey and welcome to the first episode of 2024. Isn't that crazy? You know what freaks me out even more is that today is the 1st of February. What happened to January? It just disappeared. It's gone. And now we're in February all of a sudden. So that's a bit crazy, but I hope that you all had a really beautiful Christmas time and New Year and all the things that happened in between then. It has been a really, I think I have mixed emotions about the summer holidays because let's be totally honest. If you're watching this on YouTube, by the way, there's a mosquito flying around. That's what I'm trying to catch. If we're to be totally honest, here in Melbourne, we have not had summer. It's been the worst summer I have ever had in my life. I'll give you a perfect example, right? This week, being the first week of February, usually by this point, we would be having like 40-degree day stints where, it would be like that for a few days and then it would be like late 30s, mid 30s, and we would be like well and truly hot. This week, it's like 20, 21, 25, 22, and then all of a sudden it goes 37, and then the following day is 21. That perfectly captures what our summer has been like. It's just not cool. I am a massive summer girl. I love summertime. It's my favorite season. And I got to tell you, it's really been getting to me because I am not a winter person at all. And I have just been hanging for that warm weather to get me out of the winter blues, and it just hasn't happened. So now I feel like I'm getting into like desperate territory because we're getting closer to autumn. And I'm not cool with that either. I'm not cool with that. So yeah, it's just, I feel like a little bit like a crazy person at the moment, but I'm sure there's a lot of other people that have been feeling the same. And also our friends up in Queensland, you have been on my mind a lot because you guys have been absolutely pummeled this summer with the most atrocious rain I have ever seen. So big love to all my Queensland listeners. I hope that you guys are doing okay up there. But I will say that obviously with school holidays, the kids are home, and I really love the pace that comes with summertime because you don't have to rush out the door in the mornings. You don't really have anywhere that you have to be. You can just kind of go with the flow a little bit more. And so I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that because last year was pretty hectic and it's always busy by the end. So just having that kind of freedom to do whatever we wanted was really nice. I mean, 6 to 8 weeks of it, you get over it. You do get over it. And I'm not going to lie when I say I wasn't excited that school started yesterday. But I think everyone was. I think everyone was very much in need of their own space. And, the kids, they both love school. So they were excited to go and like see their friends, and they both are excited about their teachers. And so they were excited about that. And we were excited to just not have people yelling at us all the time. Although Poet's still home with us and he likes to yell at us, but he's very excited because now he's an only child during the day. So everyone's happy with where we're at the moment. But I guess today's episode doesn't really have too much of a point other than I just wanted to check in and say hello and just give you an update about what's going on and maybe some thoughts about the future of the show. Um, but today is actually a very special day. Not when you listen to this, it would have passed, but today is February 1st, and that is Lughnasadh. So I hope that you are all having beautiful Lughnasadh celebrations today. If you are in the Northern Hemisphere, I hope you are having a beautiful Imbolc. But I really enjoy Lughnasadh season. I think it's definitely one of the most underappreciated Sabbats out there. It kind of lies in between spring and autumn. So it's our midpoint between spring and autumn. Not spring. Oh my God. Summer and autumn. And people don't give it the love that it deserves, but I think that Lughnasadh comes with a really beautiful lesson, and that is that it reminds us to be mindful. That is what I always try to embrace when it's Lughnasadh season. And the way that I see that is that we are now in this really beautiful spot in nature where there are two seasons working together. So, for example, I'm sitting at my desk right now, my window is open, and this beautiful summer breeze keeps coming in, and it's nice and warm, thankfully, today. um, and I can see outside there are birds everywhere, and there are butterflies, and the flowers are blooming. But there is a big pine tree in front of me, and you can see brown leaves starting to sprinkle its way across. And so you can literally see the palette of nature starting to change. And often we wouldn't even notice these changes, but Lughnasadh reminds you that you should at least have a moment to just observe that, because it's a gift, and it's a beautiful gift to really connect to where we are seasonally. And I think it's like a really beautiful way to celebrate. Excuse me while I just drink water. But that's often what I try to do at Lughnasadh time, is to simply just be, to just observe. Summer is often, there's stuff going on, especially now, school's starting, all the things are happening, but now we get to just I like to sit outside, sit in those beautiful warm sun rays that we have, and then appreciate them, soak them in before they go away. I love to look at all the flowers and really appreciate all the color and life that they bring to the garden, because pretty soon they're going to go away too. So are the butterflies, so are the bees. So we can just be so grateful and appreciative for everything that they bring to our garden, because we're going to miss them soon. So these are all the things that I love to do at Lughnasadh time, and they're great because they're so simple. They don't cost anything. They don't take up much time. You can do it wherever you are. And it's just a really beautiful practice to ground you and connect you to where we are in the world. Another thing that I love to do around this time as well is to meditate. It's actually on my agenda for today. I have been really bad with meditating, I have to say. I think just adding a third baby to the family is just, it's busy. Life is so busy, and I'm only now realizing how much I have neglected and how much good you get from simple things like meditation. It really does help just calm you down a little bit. So meditating is something that I really want to get back into. But I think using Lughnasadh as a good anchor point to meditate, because again, the energy around this time and any Sabbath is so heightened that if you want to connect to deities, different like elemental energies, even your higher self, now is a really good time to do it, because you have the aid of magic floating around, so the messages that you get are going to be clearer, more helpful, more personal as well. So I definitely want to do like some kind of meditation today, and also some cards, because whenever you do divination, you get some good messages. Sometimes they are a little bit harsher during this time because the communication is clearer. So they're like, you listen to what I have to say to you. But it's definitely stuff that we need to hear, isn't it? So I'll be doing that today as well. Actually, I'm so impressed with myself because I made the best loaf of bread I have ever made. I don't know why I'm coughing so much. I do apologize. But Lughnasadh is very much connected to bread. The reason why is because it is the first harvest festival, which means that traditionally they would harvest things like oats, wheat, corn, grains, and they would start to make their bread for the autumn and winter. And so there is a tradition of making a loaf of bread, and the first loaf would be used as a offering to deities or whoever they were calling in to protect them, bring them abundance for their harvest over the autumn, and just like ensure that they have a really successful, healthy, happy autumn and winter. So I think that's really beautiful, but I'm just excited that it's an opportunity to eat bread. But today I made this loaf of bread, and I've always like attempted it, and it's been okay. It's been all right, a little bit claggy. But today it's like fluffy and crusty and all the things that a good bread loaf should be. So I am very impressed with myself that I did that. I think I might actually share the recipe with my Patreons, because I don't want to gatekeep it. I need to share it with someone, because I'm so impressed that that it's so good. So that's what I'll be doing today, is just like munching away, having bread and butter. Yeah, it's Lughnasadh, baby. You can do that.
Hey everyone, I'm just going to pause today's episode for a moment. I hope you're enjoying it. It sounds super interesting. If you're enjoying this podcast and you're thinking, hey, how could I support this show? Then the best way to do that is to jump over to Patreon and become one of my patrons, where you'll get access to additional content, videos, bonus episodes of Ritual with Amy Harvey, that is me, learning tools to help you on your witchy path, and special discounts to my online store, rosethorncottage.com. Take it away, voiceover guy.
That's right, simply head to patreon.com/Rosethorn Cottage to get all the goodies and support your favourite podcast in the entire world, Ritual with Amy Harvey. Now, back to the show.
I do want to share as well a story from when we went to the beach yesterday. I have been, as best of my abilities and as the weather will let me, I have been trying to embrace my inner sea witch, because as you know, or if you've been listening for a while, I really love sea witchery. I am such a mermaid. Nothing makes me happier than working magic at the beach. And we were able to go away for nearly a week, actually, down to Golden Beach, where we've been the last couple of years. It's like our happy place where we go. And the beach there is so beautiful. And I shared how I had another amazing hagstone finding incident, and it was just so good. But we actually went to the beach 2 days ago. So just before we went, like the kids went back to school. And I woke up that morning, and I I have mentioned before that I suffer from something called triple PD, where essentially if I'm like overtired, super anxious, any of those fun things, I almost develop like vertigo symptoms. And so I become really dizzy and it's horrible. And so that day I had a horrible sleep the night before and I was feeling so bad, so dizzy, so like overstimulated and stressed. And so we were like, yeah, let's go to the beach today. It's like everyone's happy at the beach. So we packed up super early, went down the beach, and it was great because it was so quiet. Thank goodness. The beach that we went to that day is like usually quite busy, but we were one of the only people on there. So I was very happy with that. And so the kids were all happily playing in the water. We got them these big like blow up donut kind of floaty things. So they were like happily beating each other up with that. And so I went for a walk by myself because for me, I feel like the ocean gives me so much healing. It's where I go to almost like charge my energy. And whenever I go, and I do want to do an episode actually on sea witchery because a lot of people have asked for one and there's a lot to cover. So this is just like a very little tiny bit right now. But whenever I go to the beach, for me, it's very apparent that there are water spirits there. Just like anywhere in nature that you go, if you're in a forest, you could feel like the earth and nature spirits there. So just the same when you go to the beach, you're going to feel the presence of the water spirits. And I do feel like sometimes water spirits come across louder. Maybe that's just me, but I do feel their connection comes across quite quickly. But that day I went for a big walk. And as always, I feel like when you're walking through the water, you have that immediate connection because you've got the water literally spilling over you through the waves. And so whenever I go for a walk, or even if I'm just standing there, I'll always ask to connect with the water spirits of that land. I always like pay my respects to them. And I say, I would love like any guidance or wisdom or messages that you need me to hear. Could you please send them my way in whatever way that you feel I will see them, hear them, whatever. But in particular that day I said I would also really like to get any healing that you could provide me because I feel pretty crap and I would really love to balance out, regroup, get myself back together because I'm feeling pretty horrible and I would really appreciate any healing that you could send. And so it was so funny because something came to me within 10 seconds of me saying that. Now, I will say that when you are looking for a message or, a guidance or a sign or something, you need to separate. Is this normal? Is it common? Or is this something that is a little bit different? So for example, you wouldn't go to the beach and say, I would like a sign or a message, and then see a seagull and go, ooh, what does this seagull mean? Because it means that you're at the beach and the seagull is at the beach too, because they're everywhere. That's not special. That's nothing special at all. If you were walking through a forest and you asked for the same thing and you saw a seagull, well, that's a little bit different, isn't it? You do not see a seagull just walking through a forest. So that's more of a dramatic example. But what happened to me is that I asked for this, and then within 10 seconds, as I'm walking through the water, I saw a stingray. Now, I am very well aware that a stingray does live in the ocean. Please don't think that I don't know that. But I will say they aren't common. Like I don't always go to the beach and see stingrays. In fact, I think maybe I've seen one before. So although it's a place where they would frequent, they aren't always around. So that is a sign. That is something because, something like a seal a stingray, a shark, a dolphin. Yes, they live there, but they aren't everywhere unless you go to a place where they are known to always be around. This beach, they're not. So to see a stingray, I knew this was something more than just a coincidence. And so I made a little mental note of, okay, I'm going to look up a stingray. And so I went for my walk, and immediately, like returning back to our little beach tent, the spinning had stopped. So I knew that just like spending that time in the water, there was already healing done for me. Because it's like a scientific fact as well that walking through the ocean or spending time in the water, it helps regulate your nervous system, removes anxiety, de-stresses your mind, brings you clarity, and also does that from a magical sense as well. So that had already been done. But then I looked up a stingray, and it was so funny because a stingray is all about making sure you put in calm energy and peace in your environment, making sure that where you are, it fills you with that sense of calm. So your home needs to be a place where you can rest and rejuvenate and find calm. That's what it was like telling me to do. But stingrays are also known for their healing properties. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so funny, because that's exactly what I had asked for. And then that was the confirmation that the water spirits or whoever it was that was listening to me was sending that to me. And I just thought that was like so perfect. And I just love when things like that happen, because it's fun. It's fun knowing that you're being heard by something more, So I just wanted to share that, because people are always asking like what kind of sea magic can they do, and that is something that I highly suggest, because it builds up your connection with the ocean, water, like the element of water, and also the energies that dwell in the water realm. So simply going down there, connecting with the ocean, and then asking for guidance, messages, healing, whatever it is that you're after, and asking them to send it to you in a way that you would hear it. And that's it. It's very, very simple. So that is definitely something that I recommend if you're wanting to, work on your inner sea witch. And I just love that stuff. I think it's so cool. Also, one more thing that I wanted to talk about as well is that I found that last year, and I did do a podcast episode about this, but I really went through a really big, like, magical burnout. I felt that, I think because everything I do day to day is so witchy, that there wasn't much left for me. And I just got to the point where I was like, I cannot do this anymore. It's just, I have nothing left in the magic tank. And so I really allowed myself to slow down and step back until I found that spark again. And I feel like one thing that I have noticed from doing that is that my practice and the way that I guess see my own like witchy self is starting to change, as it should. Like, you never want to be the same witch that you were a year ago, 2 years ago, 6 months ago. You always should be growing and changing and evolving, and I definitely feel like I am. And I feel like where am I even going with this? I feel like one thing that I really stepped away from is reading witchy books, as in like nonfiction, like, learning books. And I just couldn't do it. I just could not do it. My brain was just like, oh my God, no more. And I really dived into fiction, which is like my absolute love. You've probably seen me talk about it on social media a million times, but I am just such a book nerd. I am constantly reading. Reading has well and truly been my savior for my mental health, and just like finding that time for myself and to recharge and to escape and to just like fill my cup up. I recommend reading so much to anyone because it really is such a beautiful gift for yourself. And so I have definitely stepped away from the like witchy learning type books. But one thing that came through to me when I was walking through the water is that it's like to step back into learning, and try and like find, I guess, my joy in witchcraft again. And I don't say this in like I don't like being a witch. There's nothing like that at all. It's just like re-sparking that flame, getting little bits of petrol and pouring it on so the flame grows bigger. That's where I feel like I'm at the moment. And I don't feel like any shame or guilt or anything in feeling that way, because everyone suffers from a burnout. We're humans and we feel things. And so rather than fighting it, I've just like allowed it to happen. And that's why I feel like I am rebuilding into this like stronger, better witch because of it, because I really like stripped myself of just stuff that doesn't fit me anymore. And it's funny how by doing that, you notice it trickles out into all areas of your life, and you really start to notice what you want out of like relationships, out of your career, out of your health, out of, every area of your life. And you start to set up boundaries, which people don't like. But it's so good for you. And so that's definitely where I've been at, is rebuilding the boundaries. And I've like the things I've started to notice is just craziness. But I think ultimately it will be for the good of me. Anyway, this episode is just basically me ranting about 100 million different things. The point is that where I'm at is that I feel like this year is going to be really like me finding myself again as a witch, which I'm so excited about, because it's fun. It's like I've been, those like choose your own adventures. I feel like I've turned and I have this new path, but I can't see it yet. Like when you're in a video game and you walk into a new area and it's like, you've just discovered this land. That's where I feel like I'm at the moment. And so I can really feel myself being drawn to more nature like based practices, really like traditional witchcraft, really raw, basic things that go way, way back, but ultimately they are all so connected to the earth. And that's why I guess I've always been so drawn to like fairy magic, seasonal magic, because it's old. It's always been there. It's so connected to the seasons and nature and everything that's outside our window. And so I'm excited to rebuild my practice involving that and based around that. Yeah, that probably doesn't make sense to anybody, but it does to me. And I definitely feel a lot better than how I was last year. And I think also I'm coming out of that baby bubble. Like if you haven't heard, we had a baby December 2022. So Poet just turned 1, not that long ago. And he's like sleeping through the night now. I mean, he's a little pocket rocker and he's insane, but he's the cutest little baby in the world. And we're definitely out of that little baby bubble that you get lost in. So that's exciting as well. But yeah, that's basically what's been going on the last month and a bit. In terms of the podcast, I have a list of potential people that could be coming on. Some I need to reach out to, some have agreed. I just have to find dates and all that stuff. And then I have notes from you guys about what you want from me as well. So I'm excited to dive into them. Of course, Patty will be back and we will be doing all the things that you guys love. the magical places, the conspiracy theories. I'm thinking that we may actually go through all the Sabbats again, because I did them the very first year the podcast was out, and I feel like I could add more wisdom to it. So I think we'll be covering all the Sabbats again. But yeah, I've got some more ideas, and I do want to do some more like just me chatting podcasts, because I think it's fun for me, but also it's nice for you guys to kind of reconnect with just me as well and learn a little bit more about like what's going on, and I can discuss particular subjects and whatnot. So yes, I hope this episode was interesting. It really is just me left to my own devices and just ranting away, but I'm happy to be back, and I'm happy to bring you guys some really fun episodes soon. And thank you again for all your support last year and for being there, and your messages that still come through to this day, saying that you enjoy the podcast. So it really does mean the world. If you wanted to give the podcast some extra love, I would love it if you went over and gave us a rating or a review, just so it can be pushed out to even more people. And that would make me really excited. So yes, thank you so much. And I will see you guys on the next episode. See you later.